All right.
Good morning and welcome, fans of Blue Smoke and Black Ink, the 30-minute sit downs with some of America's greatest writers. I'm really pleased today to have January Gill O'Neill as our guest. She's a poet, she's a professor. If I were to tell you about all of her different honors and achievements, it would take up our full 30 minutes. So I'm just going to hit a few of the highlights for
You
you
sure
before we let Jan get on.
you
Jan
don't
has
want to
won the
start over
Allen
with my dog?
Ginsberg Poetry Award, so she's running with the big dogs. She's got
Hmm.
the Poetry by the Sea Best Book Award. She was a finalist for the New England Book Award. She was a finalist for the Massachusetts Book Award. Publishers Weekly said about her latest book, which we'll talk about, Glitter Road, O'Neill's ruminative fourth collection explores the triumphs and traumas of daily life. These poems memorably navigate the tradings of love, tragedy, resilience, and parenthood. And the North American Review added, these poems tell the story of a speaker entering a new chapter after loss, transforming solitude into celebration and memory into myth. Hi, Jan. How you doing?
I'm good. I like you, Mabel, my dog is in the background and making herself known, so I apologize ahead of time.
Oh, that's great, but there'll be no extra payment for your dog for this
There
appearance.
you go. All
Okay.
right. Well, I'll tell her that.
Hey, I promised to give you a chance to talk and read some of your poems, but first I
Hmm.
have to share with the audience a story you might remember and might not about how
Hmm.
we first met
Hmm.
12 or 13 years ago. We were in the Salem Writers meeting,
Hmm.
and some, right, and someone read a poem about this dingy little bar in Tijuana, Mexico, and you said, "Oh, yeah, I know that bar. I jumped up on a table and danced in that bar." Well, your viewers probably know already that you're a very sophisticated, proper, genteel
Well,
lady. And I
yes.
couldn't believe it. I couldn't get rid of this
I
image of you dancing on the
I
bar. But
I think
nobody else reacted. Everybody
I
else just sat there and said, "Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's
All
Jan."
right.
And
I
then
need
some,
to amend
yeah.
that story. It wasn't Tijuana, it was New Orleans.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yes.
okay. Well,
But
that
I
doesn't change.
definitely, yeah, I know what it's like to be on a
Oh, so
table.
you haven't danced on tables out of country. You tend to
Not yet.
dance.
I've been out of country, have not danced on tables out of
Okay.
country, but definitely within the contiguous 48 states. Yes.
All right.
So,
That's good to know. And also then somebody else said, "Oh, well, I know that bar. It's where I saw Ernest Borgnine once." And the crowd went crazy. They said, "Ernest Borgnine, wow." And so
yeah.
I still
Okay.
to this day don't understand the reaction to that crowd. But anyway, it's great to have you here, Jan. Great to be talking
Hmm.
with you. Uh, I have to admit, you poets are a little bit of a foreign species to me. I don't understand you at
Uh-huh.
all. So my first question is going to be, how and why did you decide to become, I hope it's not derogatory, but why are you a poet? How did you get to be that? Tell us a little bit about that.
So, when I went to grad school, so I'm from Virginia and we're filming this in Massachusetts. So, when I went to, I was an undergrad, sorry. I grew up in Virginia and I went to Old Dominion University and I had some really great teachers. I had Toy Darracott and the late Ruth Stone. And, they sort of, in a way, gave me permission to write poetry. And sure, I had taken fiction classes, but poetry really kind of stuck. And I really like this sort of this get in and get out with poetry. Like, I think about plot and I teach it. I teach short stories and fiction and other genres. I'm just like, wow, there's a lot of you gotta remember characters and what are they doing and backstory and all that. So with a poem, I could really sort of center in on the words and the emotion and talk about my life in that form or things that affect me, interest me. There's a lot of joy in what I write about. I like to write about all sorts of subjects, including race, family, work, the day to day, getting political, love. So poetry seemed to be the best vehicle for me to do that. But the thing about poetry is there are more readers than people recognize or admit. Now, not everybody is buying poetry books, but I do think people aren't buying books in general, not like they should. I mean, you have to admit there are more writers in general with
Yeah.
all genres than readers. But poetry, at least in this age, is great for social media sharing.
Yeah.
And it's always been at the heart of, a wedding or a funeral. Poetry is really about the day to day. I
I
mean,
remember.
you'll run into anybody and they can probably tell you a few lines. I mean, it may be a limerick, but they can tell you a few lines of like a poem that they remember from high school or something that they may have read recently.
Yeah.
And so, my job is to try to reach some of those folks out there and say, yeah, well, there's more than just what you learned in high school. Shakespeare's amazing, but there's a whole world of poets out there writing about the things that you're concerned about as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. And there's no age limit either, is there, to
That's
poetry?
true.
I remember reading a poem of yours that at 14, I think you were 14 years old, and you
Hmm.
heard Tina Turner, or you saw Tina Turner
Hmm.
perform.
Hmm.
And somehow that to me started clicking that you realize that's what art is. That's what's important. That's what truth is. Oh, I
Hmm.
think that's just wonderful. Your latest book
Hmm.
is Glitter Road. Tell us a
Hmm.
little. I've already read the some of the great blurbs that's gotten. Tell us a little
Thank
bit
you.
about that book, how it came to be, and what the poems are about.
So Glitter Road is my experience being in Mississippi in 2019, 2020, and delving into the legacy of Emmett Till.
Yeah.
I was there on fellowship, so I took my teenagers down, which, was interesting. That's also when we got the dog Mabel. And
That's what just to interrupt you. That's what interested me too. Did you have any trepidation? You're a New Englander, you're a
yeah.
black woman, and there you
Hmm.
are heading down to with your children to into the heart of Mississippi. Did a
Yeah.
little piece of you say, "Uh-oh, this could be trouble"?
Oh, yes, but so since I'm from Virginia, I have lived in New England longer at this point than maybe I've lived in Virginia, but I still feel like a Southerner at heart and spent most of my summers, if not in Virginia, in Atlanta. But Mississippi was the South South. It was, a lot of, a lot of conflicting ideas for me as a black woman. But New England has its own issues as well. I think the South
Sure.
sometimes deals with it better. They've been dealing with it longer, more often. And it's I don't know. Some part of me thinks it's a little more obvious sometimes than what I experienced in New England. But yes, I did to answer your question. I was concerned, especially because before we went down. Oxford, Mississippi, which is where the University of Mississippi is, also known as Ole Miss, they were experiencing their own issues. There were three Ole Miss students who were pictured standing next to the shot up marker for Emmett Till
Yeah.
near the Tallahatchie River, where he was pulled out of the river. And these three young men were just smiling like they had just done something, and that picture went viral. That happened before we went down. And there were some other things that happened too, like there was a statue on campus that had been there for more than 100 years that the people want moved. It was a Confederate statue, and it
Mm.
was at the entrance of the campus. And the community wanted it moved, but the administration sort of slow walked the whole process. And it eventually moved in 2020 after I left. And then the state was still using the stars and bars flag, the Confederate flag that most of us are familiar with. And that also came down in 2020. So there was a lot of reason to be concerned, but it was also a great lesson in understanding and getting out of the bubble that New Englanders, dare I say, we liberals are in sometimes. Reminder that there are good people doing good work everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it was great to go down and not just visit. you know,
So you
to
would do it
live there
again.
for a
You would do
year.
it again for both yourself and your children. You think it was a good experience.
Yeah, I think it was a learning experience for all of us, but really just getting to know just I mean, a lot of the people I met were just some of the friendliest people. And I will say Oxford itself is full of art and culture and could be any, it could be here
Yeah.
with southern food and warmer weather, but you go outside 5 miles, 10 miles, or into the Delta an hour away. I mean, you really do see poverty. I mean, Mississippi doesn't rank high in a lot of the standards that you would expect for a state. They're pretty much at the bottom for a lot of things. I mean, there are people they're trying to turn it around, education,
Yeah.
healthcare, employment, crime. A lot of those things are really, really high in some of the southern states. And but I just keep reminding myself that there are good people everywhere doing good work. And I've been back to Mississippi several times. I have a
Wow.
boyfriend there, and we are long distance. So,
Oh,
um, yeah, it's a place near and dear to my heart. It's maybe a third home for me
oh,
or
wow.
fourth home.
That's
Yeah,
great to know that in a sense you
yeah,
found another home by going down there.
yeah.
One of us is going to have to read your Emmett Till poem before we get off because I simply love that poem. That's one of my favorites. Maybe you'd like to read it now for us.
Well, if you would like to read it, no, I'll go ahead and
Hey,
read it.
I,
You saved one of us.
unlike most telecasts, I do that. I'm going to jump in if we have time and read some of your poems, which is really
That'll be fun.
egotistical of me, but I don't care. But you have the Emmett Till poem right there?
Sure.
Oh,
The
good.
so this is I've titled it this is a subhead from a USA Today article from July 2019. Three Old Miss students used guns to vandalize a memorial to lynching victim Emmett Till. They pose their bodies as if they've just bagged their first 10-point buck. One holds a shotgun, another squats below the shot up sign, a third stands with an AR-15. Three faces smiling, hoisting guns in front of a bullet-ridden marker. This is the site where Till's body was removed from the river. It is hunter's hours. The sign's jagged holes could slice a finger. Those students are someone's sons or brothers, not much older than the young black boy, his body beaten, tethered to a 75-pound cotton gin fan, and thrown into the Tallahatchie. This is an old story, a Southern Gothic. To deny this boy's life and then deny the marker that says he lived breaks me every time. The camera captures the night's dark cover, the tall grasses, the momentary flash illuminating their shit-eating grins and gun barrels glint. Lifetimes of getting away with it.
Whoa.
You
I'm trying to find my view here, get myself back on. That is so
know.
powerful, Jan. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
I'm going to uh, jump in here and read another poem of yours called At the Rededication. I still can't
Yeah.
believe, just as an introduction, I still can't believe that the memorials are being shot up down there by certain people and have to be redone.
Well, there is a culture very generally of signs and markers being shot. Not yes, the memorials and yes, some particular ones, but in general, people with guns shooting signs as targets, which I didn't realize until I went down there. So hunters, gun enthusiasts, it's not widespread. It's not
Yeah,
everybody,
but
of course, but yes, that is a thing. And then yes, in particular, this one shot up as if it was nothing. It is as if it has no meaning. And that's part of the problem, I think, with the Emmett Till story, is that, really since before the Biden administration, there really hasn't been that federal protection. So now that new marker that you're going to read about has, at least for now, they have the backing of the federal government. So if something happens, it's prosecuted. It's under the Park Service. So it'll be prosecuted. But before then, And with a lot of the memorials for Emmett Till in particular, they haven't been memorialized. So Bryant's, uh, the Bryant's Grocery and Meat Market, which is where Emmett Till allegedly whistled at a white woman in 1955, hasn't been deemed a landmark officially. It's not under any kind of federal protection, so it's just falling apart. It's disintegrating. I mean, it's overgrown by weeds and kudzu, and it's yeah, it's you
We
can't cross into that. So, but that's part of the story, that the surrounding area, the owners of the property, there's it's important to note what is remembered and what is preserved, and who says it's okay to to do that. I mean, the not remembering, the letting it just disappear, that's a choice, that's a decision. But it's not a whole decision. It's like a whole community that, there are people working to preserve it, but like the owners don't want to preserve some of these sites. The surrounding community, remembering the history of what it's like if you speak up against the power structures. There are a lot of people who are like, this happened, 70 years ago. Why do we need to remember it? So it's really, yes, there's a whole thought process around why some of these legacy memorials are not properly secured.
I'm glad you're not being apologist in the sense that this was just a like shooting a stop sign or a mailbox or something. I'm glad you
Right.
told the story of Emmett Till. We both admire the book The Barn by Wright
Yep.
Thompson, which tells the whole story. And I think you actually know Wright Thompson, or do you have some
A little bit.
uh,
I have a little connection to them. Yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful book, The Right.
Yeah.
Here's another book. I'm sorry, another poem of yours about Emmett Till. It's called "At the Rededication of the Emmett Till Memorial, Glendora, Mississippi, October 19th, 2019."
Hmm.
He was 14, same age as my daughter, who sits beside me on the crowded bus. We travel with police escort like a funeral procession to dedicate the new marker at Grab Hill Landing. Along the dirt road, red spider lilies bloom around the gnarled roots of aged oaks. Life grows on among the silent brown branches. Delta dust settles to reveal cotton fields ready for harvest. There have been signs before, three, stolen, shot up, tossed in the river. The last one stood just 35 days, riddled with bullets again and again, refusing us the comfort of leaving the past in the past. Till's story means hardened steel. This marker weighs 500 pounds. It is black, bulletproof, designed to absorb rifle rounds of white supremacy. As the heart carves around the table of this road, reconciling the old hurt with the new resolve. Every day it's taken down, it's going back up. On the Tallahatchie bank, we honor, we grieve, let our feet sink into the mud while the brown water rages. I apologize for stealing your material, but that's such a beautiful and powerful poem. I certainly
Thank you.
appreciate it. Um,
Thank you.
do you ever sit down, Jan, and say, I'm just going to write some kind of a poem that fights racism? And you have no idea of the concept of the images or anything, but that's your main thing. Or do you always start with a specific thing that happens to be either related to
Right.
race or not?
No, and I think that's nearly impossible to do, or it's not in my wheelhouse. Let's put it that way. I really connect with imagery, and so I need motivation. I mean, it's I don't want my poems to be trite. I want them to mean something. I don't know if I have any sacred knowledge or understanding of how the world works any more than anyone else, and so it's helpful to have a starting point. I can't watch the news and then find something and then just write about it. It really needs to be um, meaningful and connect. And a lot of times, my poems, that might have to do with something that's happened to me personally, or something I can speak to with some authority. right? So that I got to tell the Till story through my eyes now. And I got to go to that location and do research and really feel what trauma was like in the landscape. And so, yeah, it I try, sometimes I can see things through my children's eyes and with people around me. And yeah, occasionally there is a poem or two that you just have to write something that talks about the outrage. But yeah, no, I don't. Race is one of the topics that I write about. And I also write a lot about joy because a lot of poetry that happens, and rightfully so, is about the hard times. But there's a lot of black joy that doesn't get talked about or spoken to, and I think that's equally important. And that was one of the things I was aiming for with Glitter Row. Like, how do you balance Emmett Till with love poems?
Yeah.
So yeah.
You mentioned your son and daughter.
Mhm.
Catch up on them on a personal level. Is your boy still at Syracuse, an
Yes, and
Orange man?
hopefully he's coming home tomorrow because we're filming this a week before Thanksgiving. So
Yeah,
he's
my,
coming
my
home tomorrow.
grandson's coming home today from Chicago, but go ahead. So, what is
Perfect.
he, a junior there or a senior?
Senior.
Wow.
Yeah. How about your grandson? Was it
He's a freshman at McGill and studying filmmaking. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so
Well,
I'm dying to talk to him.
yeah, he's probably learned a lot and good for him for leaving the nest and then like, really going someplace that's not easily accessible for the parents.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
worried about him, and maybe you are too. How's your fella getting home? Is the
He's
airline any problem or?
Syracuse is not that far from where we are, so he's driving with his roommates. So,
Oh,
um,
great.
yeah, so yeah, I'm thinking, gosh, you won't have to do this trip next year. Thank goodness.
Yeah. But
And
who
my
knows? He
daughter,
might. What's he studying?
oh, sports management.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah.
Oh, great. I hope he's a New York Jets fan. And how about your daughter? What's she up
I
to?
know that's a joke.
Yeah, afraid so. We're in Massachusetts, aren't we?
Hey, the Pats look good, and I'm not a big sports fan, but the Pats look good this year.
Yeah, they certainly do. And how about your
Yes.
daughter? What's she up to? How old is she? And
She's definitely not in the sport. She is a junior at Mass Art, so the Massachusetts School of Art and Design, and
oh, really?
yeah, they just had their big, what they call big show, which is their big student-run multimedia show last night that I missed. But she's great. She is running co curating the campus gallery this semester,
Great.
and she's moved off campus and lives in an apartment with two other roommates. So that's where we are now.
Oh,
So
that's great. Did I read that you had something to do with a presentation at the Mass School of Art and
I
Design?
have one coming up on December 3rd.
Okay, let's go through your upcoming
Oh
appearances.
my gosh.
Tell us about that one.
Well, that one's coming up with, I'll be reading with our poet laureate Reggie Gibson and Daniel Johnson, who runs Mass Poetry. And as you know, I'm former executive director of the festival.
Yeah,
So we'll read, and that'll be a good reading. I think it starts around 6:30 at Mass Art, which is off of Huntington Avenue in Boston. And if you go on my social media, you'll see a flyer for it. I'm really looking forward to so something I have promised, some might say threatened my kids with, is that I will read at their schools. So I'm going to be reading at Mass Art December 3rd, and I will be at Syracuse on April 1st for National
Oh,
Poetry.
that's
So
great. It's
I'm like,
terrific. And no matter what they
it's
say
all
about
coming
you
together.
embarrassing them, etc., they're
Yes,
loving it. They're loving it
yes.
underneath. You can.
They are not, but I love it.
Oh, that's great. We only have a
Oh,
few minutes left. I want to do two things. I first
sure.
want to sober the mood a moment by mentioning Jen Martelli, a mutual friend,
Okay. Yeah.
mutual poet who recently
Yeah.
passed away. Yeah, I'm sure we
Yeah.
were both affected by that.
Yeah. We miss her. I mean, at this point, it's been, maybe 5, 6 weeks, and it feels like we, you know, it, you, it, she was so important to the North Shore community and the literary community as a poet and a critic and a supporter. I mean, she's a person who would write a blurb. She was always the person who would go to a reading,
Yeah.
It sometimes it didn't matter who's reading, but she would end up there. And like that's I know a lot of people who for whatever reason can't do that all the time, go and support in the community, but she always did, and she almost always said yes to things. And so I miss her on a personal note. I miss her in our North Shore community. I know, she's got two unfinished or two finished final manuscripts that I would like to try to get out into the world in the next few years. So that's kind of a personal mission for me.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know she had anything like that. Do you
Yeah.
have books of poetry you're working on now with any central
I
theme or idea?
yeah, I have one that's at the one with the publisher who is looking it over. I'm on sabbatical this semester, so I have a project in mind, but I haven't started, so I'm hoping I can do that in January. Um, and no, I mean it's been I so Jen was part of our cohort with Cindy Veach and Jennifer Jean, and
Yeah, the Thursday poets.
we wrote a poem a day this year. Sorry, a poem a week. And so, Jen got to about 36, 37. And so we're trying to continue that. But, that means I have 36, 37. Actually, I have more than that. I probably have I'm a little behind. I have 42 poems that I've written this year.
Wow.
And so, in theory, that's enough for a bad manuscript, but no, but they're those are poems that I can work with. So, I don't have I have one book waiting in the wings. I'm not necessarily ready to do another one. I'm just sort of enjoying the time off, but we'll see what happens when I go back to classes in September. I might have something ready, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, that's wonderful. I didn't know you were on sabbatical. Congratulations.
Woo,
Enjoy
that's why I
yourself.
can do this interview in the
We're
middle of the day.
We only have a minute or two left. Could
Oh
you choose
no.
either a published or unpublished poem of yours that you'd like to read that you're especially proud of? And then
Okay.
we'll call it a day.
Well, the key is trying to pull it up in that minute, so we'll see. Sure, I'll do an unpublished poem that I'm hoping gets published. Let's see. All right, we'll do this one. It's the last poem I wrote, so it's very new and hasn't been edited. It's called Descent. I am still above the clouds where the blue seems mythic and true, the gray carrying me like a gathering of days. But I am not sure yet if it's all been worth it. The smell of hot feathers and melted wax pooling down my back. I've always bet on myself. Against the shoals and swells above the briny ocean, I know when to let go and move on. I never burn, or so I tell myself. To feel it so intently, the valley between shoulder and chest, above the lush trees, above the radiant world, it's easy to be disillusioned. But some foolish flame in me climbs towards what blazes, reaches for the light that melts wings. I won't regret the fall.
Wow, that's just
So,
unbelievable.
yeah,
Beautiful.
thank
I
you.
really thank you. We're out of time now, but this has been so enjoyable to me. I'll have to start thinking of poets as real people.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That's
That,
not condescending.
thank you so much, Jen. I'll
And
let you know.
we will have to lean towards our brothers and sisters in fiction and other genres and just pull them along. That's what
Yeah,
we'll
there
do.
you go. They're waiting to be enlightened. Thank you,
There you
Jan.
go.
Take care
All
now.
right,
Enjoy
thank
yourself.
you.
Enjoy your sabbatical.
All right. Have a great holiday.
Thank you. Yeah, you too.